Okay, so thank you everybody for coming today and registering for this, our first BTG speaker series about wheelchair basketball. So thank you to those that registered. Thank you to our athletes and coach that have logged on today to answer some questions for us. Just before we get started, we'd like to take the time to respectfully acknowledge that where I am coming from, I wanted to acknowledge the traditional and unceded territories of the Tsleil-Waututh, Musqueam, Squamish, and Chemainus First Nations, on whose the territory of the BC offices stand. And we encourage you all to take a moment and just acknowledge wherever you are joining us from today. Simon, did you want to?
Yeah, so merci beaucoup à tous ceux et celles qui nous joignent aujourd'hui. Nous voulons aussi faire sûr que nous sommes tous sur mute, en silence pendant le webinaire. Aujourd'hui, c'est le premier webinaire de la série BTG avec comme thème le basketball en fauteuil roulant. Et puis, on veut aussi remercier les territoires des Premières Nations à travers le Canada. Donc, comme ça, on va commencer le webinaire.
Perfect. So I'm Nadine Barbazan. I'm coming from BC. I'm sorry if I didn't mention that. Just a few things. If you want to keep yourself muted, that'd be great. Questions are welcome. You can type them in the chat as well as, or ask them at the end. That's up to you. If we're going to do a quick introduction to what the BTG program is, and then we'll get into our athlete and coaches question period.
Donc, comme on a dit au début, on vous demande tous de rester sur mute. On va aussi vous inviter à poser vos questions à travers la fonction du chat. Et on va commencer avec une petite présentation sur le programme BTG et sur le basketball en fauteuil roulant.
Perfect. Okay, so wheelchair basketball, it is a fast-paced competitive sport played with 5-on-5. The basic rules are very similar to able-bodied basketball, and general rule, every 2 pushes of the wheelchair, you have to bounce the ball. And to shoot, pass, or dribble, it can help with that as well. So it's just very basic rules that we're going to go over.
Donc, le basketball en fauteuil roulant, c'est un sport qui est joué dans une chaise roulante, évidemment. On est tous dans nos chaises et c'est les mêmes règlements très, très similaires au basketball traditionnel. La seule règlement qui est un peu différent, c'est le double dribble. En fauteuil roulant, tu as besoin de pousser ta chaise 2 fois avant de... aussi, quand tu pousses ta chaise 2 fois, tu as besoin de dribbler le ballon au moins 1 fois ou lancer. Ça fait que c'est un peu ça qui est le règlement qui est un peu différent.
The Bridging the Gap program is to introduce and support continued involvement of individuals with physical disabilities in a wheelchair, sports and recreation opportunities, promoting an active, healthy lifestyle and improved quality of life. And how we do this is with Have a Go Days, addressing barriers to equipment and helping with peer support. We do this in partnership with rehab centers and different community organizations. We have athlete role models and mentorships as well as coaches in that as well. And it's all about advocacy and awareness with a development level programming up towards high performance sport. Yeah.
Donc, le programme Bridging the Gap, au-delà des limites en français, c'est un programme d'introduction pour support pour les athlètes. C'est aussi un programme où est-ce que tu vas commencer à jouer des sports, des parasports. Comment est-ce qu'on fait ça? C'est on invite les gens avec des handicaps à venir à des cliniques de journées découvertes. On adresse aussi les aspects d'équipement avec le coût de l'équipement et tout ça. On prévoit aussi de faire des sessions d'entraîneurs. On a aussi des partenariats avec plusieurs centres de réhabilitation à travers le pays. Puis on a aussi des programmes de mentorat pour les athlètes. Donc, c'est vraiment un programme que ça promouvoit les sports, les parasports à travers le pays. Puis c'est aussi au niveau du développement en termes de première introduction au sport.
So on the screen, we have the different sports equipment that is used for wheelchair racing, wheelchair basketball, wheelchair rugby, wheelchair tennis, pretty general.
Donc, les fauteuils que vous voyez sur l'écran, c'est les fauteuils qui sont un peu irréguliers suivis dans les sports. On a le fauteuil de rugby en fauteuil roulant, de basketball en fauteuil roulant, aussi des courses au niveau de l'athlétisme.
So the three different components that I mentioned above are the Have a Go Days, the individual support and mentorship, and the development programs. So just getting into a bit more detail with the Have a Go events, we provide this for participants to try new sports, get information about our current programs, and to meet other athletes. It's free, the equipment is provided, so usually it's all the sports combined in one spot so that everyone can try, and everybody is welcome. Bring your family, friends, or come on your own. And it's just the goal is to enhance awareness of wheelchair sports in the community and among participants, as well as allied practitioners.
Donc, il y a trois différents aspects dans le programme Au-delà des limites. Le premier aspect, c'est les journées découvertes. C'est gratuit pour tout le monde qui puisse s'inscrire. On encourage non seulement les gens avec des handicaps à venir et s'impliquer, mais aussi des amis, des familles qui n'ont peut-être pas de handicap également. Tout l'équipement est fourni et on promouvoit avec ces journées découvertes les différents sports et on permet à ceux et celles qui s'inscrivent de venir être inspirés, être au courant et vraiment participer pour plusieurs sports au niveau des parasports.
Another component is the individualized support and peer mentorship. And this is just meeting people where they are, having past athletes come in or current athletes come into the rehab center or setting and introduce the sport to new athletes. It's following up and having personalized plans and just basically connecting people with people that are currently in the sport. And then there's leadership development, which is coaches, officials, volunteers, and we provide training and different opportunities to community supports and community champions.
Donc, la deuxième phase ou le deuxième volet du programme Au-delà des limites, c'est vraiment du côté du mentorat des athlètes et des entraîneurs. Le programme de mentorat, c'est vraiment, on a des athlètes qui sont déjà impliqués dans certains sports, qui vont aller s'impliquer avec des nouveaux athlètes dans les centres de réhabilitation, les inspirer à venir essayer certains sports. Donc, ils vont vraiment les prendre vers la main et vraiment les impliquer de ce côté-là. Ils vont vraiment les inspirer pour s'inscrire. Les entraîneurs, ça marche un peu la même chose. On a des entraîneurs qui sont déjà dans les parasports qui peuvent répondre aux questions des volontaires et des entraîneurs qui veulent s'impliquer. Et puis, on peut les supporter du côté d'entraîneurs pour les cours d'entraînement. Puis ça fait que c'est ça.
And then there's also a component of development programs, which it is starting at the entry level, where participants can learn skills, develop techniques, and access to competitive and rec opportunities. So starting from the beginning and moving them into a recreation opportunity.
Donc, le troisième volet, c'est le volet du développement. Comme on a dit dès le début, c'est la première session que les athlètes vont venir, ils vont s'inscrire. On va vraiment les prendre vers la main, si tu veux, et les passer à travers de la première session qu'ils vont vivre jusqu'au niveau récréatif et même au niveau de haute performance.
And just, we'll provide this information at the end, but these are all of our, the different coordinators across Canada's information and who you can connect with if you have more questions about BTG in the province.
Donc, on va faire circuler cette diapo de nouveau à la fin. Mais ça, c'est tous les contacts des personnes à contacter dans chacune des provinces.
And now what we all came here for, these are the athletes and coach that we're gonna ask some questions. So we have Aidan Love, Colin Higgins, Ross Norton, and Zoe Hahn, and they're gonna introduce themselves.
Donc, on a 4 invités aujourd'hui pour cette session de ce webinaire. Nous avons Aidan Love, Colin Higgins, Zoe Hahn et Ross Norton. Et on va demander à chacun d'entre eux de s'introduire.
So Colin, if you'd like to start.
Sure, yeah. Hi guys, I'm Colin. I'm from New Brunswick. I'm training right now in Toronto. I started playing wheelchair basketball in 2014, and I've been on the senior national team since 2017.
Donc, le premier invité, c'est Colin Higgins. Il vient du New Brunswick. Il est présentement en train de s'entraîner à Toronto. Il est aussi un membre de l'équipe nationale, senior nationale au niveau du basketball en fauteuil roulant.
Zoe.
Hi, I'm Zoe. I'm from Ontario. I've been playing wheelchair basketball for 13 years, I think. I've recently started to do a little bit of coaching.
Awesome. Aidan.
Donc, Zoé, ça fait 13 ans qu'elle participe au basketball en fauteuil roulant. Elle a aussi commencé à s'impliquer au niveau des entraîneurs dans sa région.
Go for it, David.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aidan Love. I've been playing wheelchair basketball for close to 8 years now. Formerly played with the junior national team. Currently playing with Team BC and living in Victoria.
Donc, Aidan vit en Colombie-Britannique à Victoria. Ça fait 8 ans qu'il joue au basketball en fauteuil roulant. Il était un membre de l'équipe junior canadienne quelques années passées. Et puis, c'est ça, ça fait 8 ans qu'il fait du basketball. Fauteuil
And Ross.
Yeah, Ross Norton. I'm from Edmonton. I've been involved in the sport since '89. I started playing right after my injury, a couple of weeks after my injury. Played with the national team for 9 years. And I'm now doing the admin for the Northern Lights and coaching the A team. And I'm involved with the Canada Games Team Alberta team as well.
Donc, Ross, ça fait depuis 1989 qu'il fait partie du sport du basketball en fauteuil roulant. Il a commencé à jouer quelques semaines après sa blessure. Il a fait partie de l'équipe nationale pendant 9 ans. Et puis, il est aussi très impliqué au niveau de sa communauté en tant qu'entraîneur dans sa communauté et aussi avec l'équipe Alberta.
Okay, I'm going to pass it off to now Catherine and Simon, and we'll get into the questions.
Great, thanks, Nadine. So hi, everyone. My name is Catherine, and I'm responsible for running the Bridging the Gap program for the Ontario Para Network here in Ontario. So I'll be asking the questions for our athletes today in English, and then we'll be translating as well. So the first question today for each of you is, how did you first get involved with Parasport? How did you get started? So we'll go
Comment tu t'es impliqué dans la première en rentrant dans le sport du basketball en fauteuil roulant?
And let's go Colin first.
Sure, yeah. So growing up, I'd always played lots of sports, hockey, baseball predominantly. And then I injured my knee and ankle October 2012. My mom's a nurse who works with Karen Ferguson, who is a classifier for wheelchair basketball. So she knew of my injury, encouraged me to come try it. After like 6-7 months of humming and hawing, I kind of gave in, and I guess the rest is history. So that's my bridge into the world.
Donc, Colin s'est blessé en 2012 au genou. Il connaissait une thérapeute, un centre de réhabilitation qui était aussi impliqué au niveau de la classification du wheelchair basketball ou du basketball en fauteuil roulant. Et puis, qui était Karen Ferguson. Karen l'a donc inspiré pour se pousser à venir au basketball en fauteuil roulant. Et puis, de là, il a commencé à se développer à travers de ce sport.
Okay, Zoe, would you like to go next?
Sure. So I got involved. My mom, she heard about the local wheelchair basketball program, and she kind of asked me if I wanted to try it, and I did. And yeah, that's
Great.
it.
Donc, Zoé, sa mère connaissait qu'il y avait du basketball en fauteuil roulant qui était joué dans sa communauté. Et elle a décidé d'y aller pour l'essayer. Elle a adoré ça depuis la première journée.
Okay, Aidan.
Sure. So in 2012, February 2012, I was in a skiing accident, leaving me paralyzed from the chest down. I attended the GF Strong Rehabilitation Center in Vancouver, and the wonderful BC crew showed up fairly quickly after my injury, and they had in tow several sport wheelchairs. So I was pretty much from that point on, I kind of got involved. And when I left GF Strong, I was actually sent home with a wheelchair. I was born and raised in the Yukon, so I was able to bring home a chair with me to the Yukon for a bit. And as Colin said, the rest is history.
Donc, pour Aidan, il s'est blessé en 2012 lui aussi à travers un accident de ski qui l'a laissé paralysé de la poitrine juste en bas du corps. Il a donc été envoyé en Colombie-Britannique pour passer des traitements. Ils l'ont initié au sport du basketball en fauteuil roulant. Et puis, par la suite, il est retourné en Alberta avec une chaise roulante. Il a continué à jouer. Depuis ce jour, il a très aimé ça.
And Ross.
I started just like I said, after my spinal cord injury. I had transverse myelitis at 15, and my physiotherapist, who was Virginia Dinmeyer, I don't know who remembers that name. She recruited me, and she brought in Joe Higgins into the hospital to recruit me. And Joe was pretty tenacious in getting me out to the gym, and I was a gullible young guy, so I said, sure, why not? And started playing from there. So that's it.
Donc, pour Ross, lui, tout de suite après sa blessure à la colonne vertébrale, sa physiothérapeute l'a mis en contact avec Joe, un de ses amis à travers le basketball maintenant. Et Joe l'a vraiment convaincu de joindre ce sport. Et depuis ce jour, il a tombé en amour avec le sport.
Great. Okay, so next question. You may not all have an answer for this, but if you have something, you're welcome to jump in. So did you experience any challenges when getting involved in your sport? And if so, who or what helped you get through that and really get into the sport?
Avez-vous passé à travers des défis pour vous impliquer ou participer à travers le sport?
Whoever has an answer.
Or whoever, yeah.
Yeah, I feel really fortunate. My starting out, my challenges were very minimal. I had a club, in St. John that practice a couple times a week. That was 15-20-minute drive for me. A big obstacle starting out for people can be the price of equipment. A chair can be thousands of dollars, but luckily enough, the New Brunswick Canada Games program was able to hook me up very quickly. And so yeah, I didn't really encounter some issues or obstacles that a lot of people do.
Colin n'a pas eu beaucoup de défis à travers sa première expérience à travers les sports. Il était très près du club qui était à Saint-Jean dans le temps, et aussi il a été très chanceux de recevoir une chaise roulante à travers la Fondation des Jeux du Canada au Nouveau-Brunswick. Donc, il a eu très, très peu de défis pour s'impliquer.
Yeah, no, I think I was very fortunate as well. I don't feel that I really encountered many barriers. I mean, I returned to the Yukon after my injury for a summer, and very fortunate that I was able to obtain a chair, and then also through the Yukon was able to get a few more chairs so that some friends could play with me. And then when I returned to my university in the fall, I was very fortunate that the Victoria Wheelchair Sports Club with BC Wheelchair Sports was pretty well set up, and I kind of got involved pretty quickly.
Aidan a été très chanceux lui aussi. À son retour au Yukon, il a eu non seulement sa chaise qui pouvait participer à travers le sport, mais il y avait aussi d'autres chaises pour que ses amis, sa famille puissent participer. Donc, il n'était pas le seul à jouer au basketball en fauteuil roulant.
Okay, anyone else have anything for that one? You can just shake your head no.
I think it's important also to note that, like, for me, my biggest challenge at the time was transportation, because I lived in the country half an hour from town, so I had to sort my transportation out, getting myself to practice. And then as a new spinal cord injury, being that, getting out of the hospital right away, there's your bowel and bladder, you have to manage that. You've got you're learning as you go. Like, it takes a couple of years for you to kind of manage yourself and figure out what works and doesn't work. And your skin health too. You have to really watch your skin. And when you're a young person, you think, well, a little redness is fine, but then a little redness can turn into a pressure sore. So, I think those things really need to be addressed and managed really early, so that you don't have, chronic skin problems down the road.
Donc, un des défis pour Ross, c'était la transportation ou son transport pour les pratiques. Ça, c'était son premier défi. Le deuxième défi pour lui, c'était vraiment d'apprendre de nouveau toutes ses capacités de jour après jour pour vraiment bien fonctionner à travers sa vie quotidienne.
Great. Okay. So the next question is similar. Some of you mentioned these things already, but if you experienced any barriers related to cost, transportation, equipment, what kind of support were you able to get from either Bridging the Gap program or your PSO, your provincial sport organization, or a combination of the two?
Donc, on a parlé des défis. Qu'est-ce que vos associations provinciales ou même à travers le programme de BTG, qu'est-ce qu'eux ont fait pour vous aider à travers ces défis?
Go ahead, Colin.
Yeah, sorry. One thing for me, just on the cost side, is I was looking to try and how do I make it outside of New Brunswick? How do I do a little more in the sport? And being kind of new to it, I didn't know all the ins and outs, how things worked exactly. So they were able to lay out different grants, karting possibilities, so Challenge Athletes Foundation, different avenues for some money or equipment, stuff like that. So just, they were really helpful in just laying the land of how to navigate going forward. So.
Donc, la province du Nouveau-Brunswick était vraiment un bon atout pour Colin du côté de fournir les coûts associés au basketball en fauteuil roulant avec des bourses. Et aussi, ils ont vraiment aidé du côté du développement de son cheminement à travers son développement.
Okay, Zoe?
Trying to think. So for me, a lot of my time playing, I was a carded athlete, so I got government money to help offset different costs for training. But I do know, like for here in Ontario, ONPARA will say if athletes aren't able to pay the full amount up front for any tournaments, they will set up payment plans for athletes to make it a little easier.
Donc, Zoé a dit elle était très chanceuse d'avoir de l'aide du gouvernement canadien avec son ANAP. Et par contre, Parasport Ontario a aidé pour ceux et celles qui n'avaient pas cet argent venant du gouvernement fédéral pour payer pour les tournois et pour l'équipement qu'ils avaient besoin.
Okay, Aidan, over to you. Anything to contribute to this one? I know you mentioned it a little bit already, but
yeah, I mean, I think I'm very fortunate to have a very supportive family as well. But in addition to that, through BC and through Victoria Wheelchair Sports, my local club, we've definitely gotten creative over the years, applying for grants, applying for, other, means of income to pay for sport. But I think overall, BC is very supportive of their athletes. And, if you're unable to make something work, they've been pretty happy to support. So been very fortunate in that instance.
Donc, pour Aidan, la Colombie-Britannique était très, très impliquée au niveau des coûts aussi. Ils l'ont beaucoup aidé au niveau du support avec même sa famille, au niveau de leur style de vie et les coûts associés au sport aussi, en fournissant des bourses.
okay, and Ross, anything to add here?
Bridging the Gap didn't exist back when I started playing. It was left up to the clubs to help with support, chairs and funding and those sorts of things. One thing I think for me, looking back, was, the importance of having a properly fitting cushion. And, like some of the clubs that didn't have the proper cushions that I needed, and just like I said before, like skin health awareness. Some people were pretty good at it. I was fortunate to have guys with spinal cord injuries around me to help me learn. But sometimes people need special, cushions, and it takes a bit of time to get some funding for those things. Those the ride? They can be $2,000. And, it takes a long time to get those things ordered and sorted. So, that's important for us as administrators to make sure those new people have the awareness and the education around those cushions to make sure that their skin stays healthy.
Donc, pour Ross, le programme de BTG ou au-delà des limites n'était pas encore un programme qui était encore là à ce temps-là quand lui est arrivé dans le sport. Donc, un des défis que Ross avait aussi, c'était trouver le bon coussin pour lui, et certainement son association et le club et même ses coéquipiers ont été très, très des bons mentors de ce côté-là pour trouver le bon coussin et même pour aider aussi avec l'irritation de la peau parce que les coussins peuvent encore même irriter la peau et tout ça. Donc, ils ont vraiment aidé de ce côté-là.
Awesome. Okay, switching it up a little bit. What do you enjoy most about wheelchair basketball? What's your favorite thing about your sport?
Quel est votre quelle est votre chose favorite par rapport au sport du basketball en fauteuil roulant?
For me, it kind of gave me back an identity and a purpose in life. And there's a great community. And there's always something to work on and improve in your game. It's kind of never ending. It's kind of like golf in that way. And the travel is really nice too. So I don't know, there's a lot.
Le sentiment de communauté, certainement le fait de voyager à travers pour les tournois, c'est vraiment ce que Colin aime. Il aime aussi de s'améliorer à chaque jour et d'apprendre à travers ses expériences.
Okay, Zoe, what's your favorite thing?
I think for me, I love how competitive the sport is. And I also love just the kind of community aspect of it, the people I've been able to meet, the friendships. Yeah.
Zoe adore la compétition du sport du basketball en fauteuil roulant, ainsi que le sentiment de communauté, de se faire des amis à travers le sport aussi.
Aidan?
Yeah, there's a lot of things about wheelchair basketball that I really like. I think Ross touched on it a little bit. I was injured at 19 years old, and there's with an injury, with a spinal cord injury especially, your life changes pretty darn quick, and you need to basically relearn to do everything. And one thing that wheelchair basketball does great is provide you with this community of like-minded people who have gone through similar experiences, who you can bounce ideas off of, and also ask questions, because at the end of the day, for me especially, I had, hundreds and hundreds of questions about how to do this, how to do that. And you're traveling with a team, and you've never traveled before with a spinal cord injury. So you're learning pretty quick. And for me, like, having that community and, having access to people that have gone through similar experiences is very helpful. Another, really important thing I think for me was I played sports growing up, played competitive hockey, played competitive volleyball, always in a team aspect. And wheelchair basketball kind of gave me that team aspect back to my life. I was able to kind of reconnect with people. And also, one of the amazing things about wheelchair basketball is, your friends can hop in a chair and play with you. They don't need to have an injury. They can be able-bodied and hop in and play. And to me, that was everything. I love that aspect. I've had, some of my best friends play with me with our club teams and travel with me, and experience the same things I'm experiencing together, which is amazing.
Aidan adore l'aspect communauté aussi. Il adore de voyager avec ses coéquipiers, de poser des questions avec ses coéquipiers. Quand il s'est blessé en 2012, il avait beaucoup de questions à travers les choses de la vie quotidienne. Donc, il pouvait vraiment se baser sur ses coéquipiers de ce côté. Il adore aussi le basketball en fauteuil roulant, puisqu'il peut impliquer sa famille et ses amis au sport. Donc, tu n'as pas besoin d'un handicap pour jouer. Puis, c'est ça, il adore le sens de communauté pour ce sport.
All right, Ross, over to you.
For me, I think basketball, like Aidan said, is a sport that you can play against an able-bodied athlete, and you can't do that in many other sports. For me, my disability goes away. You become an athlete. You become a high-performance athlete, and you're not really questioned about, oh, what happened to you? It's just, oh, well, what team are you playing for, and what are your goals? Those kind of things. you certainly learn a lot from being around other people that have similar situations that you're going through. And winning's a lot of fun too. And training for something, being part of something bigger than yourself, and contributing to a team, and having all those long-lasting friendships that you develop over time. And there'll be lots of people that I'll still connect with throughout my life. I've played with them or played against them all around the world. I keep in touch with some of my teammates from other, that I played with in other countries, and it's a really cool thing that you can do.
Ross adore le sens de communauté aussi. Tu n'as pas besoin d'avoir un handicap pour jouer, comme Aidan avait dit. Et vraiment aussi, il adore la compétition et de gagner en équipe. En gagnant en équipe, tu es capable de former des amitiés entre tes coéquipiers. Puis vraiment, ça te permet aussi de voyager à travers le monde avec tes coéquipiers, de contribuer à l'équipe de ce côté-là, et vraiment de compétir ensemble et d'avoir des liens très, très forts qui sont tissés.
Okay, great. So do you have any goals in your sport? So that could be competitive or community-based, whatever your goals may be.
Donc, quels sont vos buts en tant qu'athlète, que ce soit en tant qu'équipe ou en tant qu'individu? Quels sont vos buts?
Yeah, I'll keep mine short and sweet. I'd like to win a Paralympic medal at some point. I'd like to win a national championship with my college team, and I'd like to go play pro in Europe for a couple years.
Donc, Colin, il adorerait de gagner une médaille au niveau des Jeux paralympiques. Il aimerait aussi de gagner un championnat national avec son équipe universitaire. Et puis, il aimerait aussi d'aller en Europe jouer au niveau professionnel.
Hey, go for it, Zoe. Do you have any goals in your sport?
I think for me is just to keep playing as long as I can. Maybe do some more coaching.
Cool.
Donc, Zoé aimerait de compétitionner autant longtemps qu'elle pourra. Elle aimerait aussi de s'impliquer au niveau d'entraîneur dans le futur.
Hey, Aidan.
I would like to win nationals in Canada. BC's gotten silver, I think, 3 years in a row, and there's going to be a time when we're going to be able to beat Quebec. So I would really like to win a gold, but yeah, no, I stay fit, stay active. Yeah.
Aidan aimerait vraiment de gagner un championnat canadien. Ça fait 3 ans de suite que la Colombie-Britannique a la médaille d'argent. Donc, il aimerait vraiment de battre le Québec pour la médaille d'or.
And Ross.
My job is to keep BC from winning the championship, win one ourselves. And, I guess coaching and doing administration, I really just want the athletes to have like the best possible experience that they can in the sport, have fun and help those who want to achieve greatness in the sport, play for their country someday, and, try to help them get to that point. As an administrator, just keep everything going and raise lots of money and get lots of equipment and have lots of fun, for everyone involved. So that's about it.
Donc, Ross aimerait de gagner un championnat canadien aussi. Il aimerait aussi de faire sûr du côté communautaire qui soit aussi impliqué avec l'administration et l'entraînement de son club. Il aimerait vraiment d'inspirer les jeunes et les moins jeunes à s'impliquer, de continuer leur développement à travers le sport, que ce soit sur le terrain ou en dehors. Et puis, il aimerait aussi de continuer à amasser des fonds pour continuer le développement de ses athlètes et de son club.
So as some of you have mentioned a little bit, community is really big and really important in parasport. What has your experience been like with the wheelchair basketball community or just the parasport community overall?
Donc, comme vous l'avez mentionné, le sens de la communauté est très, très important. Quelle est votre expérience à travers le basketball en fauteuil roulant du côté de la communauté et même à travers les parasports en général?
Yeah, so the community's been huge for me. I know starting out, I was kind of on the edge whether I really wanted to play or not. But then I was introduced to New Brunswick Canada Games, the program, and that's run by Dave and Sabrina Durapo, who have won multiple Paralympic medals and have all kinds of crazy stories and stuff. And I just kind of was picking their brains and asking all kinds of questions and kind of soaking it all up. And I was just like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like maybe I'd like to do something along those lines if I can. And so like that was huge for me starting out. If not for something like that, I don't know if I would have stuck with it. So that was really big for me.
Donc, pour Colin, c'était très, très important le sens de la communauté, puisque au début, il n'était pas certain s'il voulait rester dans le sport ou ne plus jouer. Vraiment, ses entraîneurs et ses coéquipiers l'ont vraiment encouragé de rester dans le sport et c'est vraiment ça qui l'a inspiré à rester dans le sport et même maintenant à vraiment aimer son sport du basketball en fauteuil roulant.
Great. Anyone else want to jump in for this one? What's the community been like for you?
Sure. Yeah, I think I've touched on it a little bit before, but one thing that still stands out in my mind is after my injury in 2012, I remember attending my first nationals that was held at the Oval in BC, and I remember Brandon Wagner. He played for Ontario at the time and for the national team actually. He's a fellow class 1 for those that don't understand classes. He's fairly similar level injury to me, and I remember this was my first kind of introduction into a high level sport, and I still remember him coming up and answering questions and just I think it goes to show kind of regardless if you're from BC or Ontario or New Brunswick or wherever you are in Canada, I think the programs and the people that are in it are very supportive and very helpful, and if you want to get involved or if you know anyone that wants to get involved, I think it's very fortunate that we have the community that we do and a very supportive community at that.
Donc, pour Aidan, lui, il se rappelle encore de son premier championnat canadien qui était en Colombie-Britannique. Il y avait un athlète de l'Ontario qui l'a approché et ça l'a vraiment inspiré puisque cet athlète avait la même ou très proche de la même blessure que Aidan avait. Et puis, ça l'a vraiment inspiré. Ça démontre aussi le sens de communauté qu'il y a dans la communauté du basketball en fauteuil roulant et même des parasports, que même si tu ne viens pas de la même région du Canada, la communauté est très, très tissée ensemble et on s'encourage tous un à l'autre.
Great. Okay. Either Zoe or Ross, anything else to add that hasn't been kind of mentioned already? Nope. Cool. Awesome. Okay. So what advice, if any, would you give to someone with either your disability, your impairment, or something similar who's considering trying parasport or trying wheelchair basketball for the first time?
Quel serait votre message à quelqu'un qui pense à s'impliquer ou qui serait la première session pour eux de s'impliquer au niveau du basketball en fauteuil roulant ou d'un autre parasport?
For me, with my disability, it's not really visible. So my whole mindset especially starting out, was just I just want to be as normal as possible, fit in with people, do what I was doing before, which was a big reason of why I didn't want to start, or I didn't want to give wheelchair basketball a try starting out. But as soon as I got back into it, I was like, hey, this is really cool. I feel like not myself again, but I'm able to put myself on a playing field or whatever, where everyone's in a chair. We're all doing the same thing. You know, there are things I couldn't do on a soccer field or a baseball diamond or whatever, and I could here, and that was really cool. And it opened up a world of opportunity. So just throw yourself into it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. You don't do it. But you know, it can do a lot for you. So.
Donc, Colin dirait vraiment à cette personne que pour lui, c'était très difficile au début. Il voulait pas s'impliquer au début émotionnellement, puisqu'il pensait que ce sport allait pas vraiment y amener les bénéfices qu'il pensait. Mais après un bout dans le sport, il a été convaincu que ce sport pouvait vraiment l'apporter beaucoup, non seulement sur le terrain, mais en dehors aussi. C'était vraiment un sport que ça le poussait à vraiment faire des habiletés qu'il ne pouvait même pas faire sans sa chaise. Donc, ça l'a vraiment inspiré à rester dans le sport et à s'impliquer encore plus.
Okay. Zoe, anything?
I would say to just try it. I mean, the worst thing that can happen is you find out it's not for you, and that's okay.
Great.
Zoé, ce serait le message, ce serait essaye. Tu ne sauras jamais si que ce sport, si tu aimerais le sport sans l'essayer. Donc, essaye ton sport. Et si ce n'est pas pour toi, il y a d'autres sports que tu pourrais jouer aussi.
Okay, Aidan, over to you.
Yeah, no, I think that as an outsider looking in, it can be a little intimidating and you're not really sure what to expect. But, you know, it's definitely worth making the effort to just give it a shot and see what it's like. And if you like it, stick with it. If you don't like it, there's, you know, 30 other sports you can try. So a lot of opportunity, a lot of sports, but I highly recommend if you like a team environment and want to make some friends, it's a good place to get involved.
Donc, Aidan dit que oui, au début, c'est certain que c'est un peu intimidant de s'impliquer, mais quand même, viens et essaye et tu verras que tu peux quand même t'impliquer. Et si que tu n'aimes pas le sport, ben, il y a beaucoup d'autres sports que tu peux essayer à travers de différentes sessions. Donc, n'arrête pas et juste essaye de trouver la bonne activité pour toi.
Great, and Ross, over to you.
I guess my advice would be, you know, cut yourself slack. You're learning a skill for the first time, and it can be frustrating and trying to keep up with other people. You know, you have to have a bit of self-forgiveness. You know, making mistakes and learning something, especially that you might have a new injury. You're learning how to adjust with that. The other thing is just keeping healthy, you know, mentally, physically. Check your skin. You know, I'm always going to say that after practice, and surround yourself with people that you enjoy being around, and you're going to really have fun in the sport.
Ross donne un conseil de vraiment avoir de la patience avec soi-même pour quand on commence un nouveau sport, quand on commence une nouvelle discipline. Il conseille aussi de s'impliquer et de s'entourer avec des gens qu'il aime être autour de toi et toi te mettre autour d'eux. De s'entourer avec les gens qui vraiment te supportent, ça va vraiment te pousser à des bonnes choses dans la vie.
Awesome. Okay, so the last question from me. Some of you have already kind of touched on this, but do you have any mentors or mentees in the sport, whether that's through coaching or other athletes? And what kind of a difference has that made for you?
Qui sont vos mentors et quelle différence ils ont fait à travers de votre carrière sportive?
I think for me, I wouldn't say I really have a mentor or mentee or whatever. But within the community, there's such a wide range. Like you could show up at a gym in Ontario and there will be Patrick Anderson, and then there will be someone that's just starting for the very first time. So you've got a huge wide range available to you all the time. And, you can just watch and pick people's brains or whatever, take little pieces, implement it into your game or your life or whatever. And people are really open to that. So people are very understanding. So, yeah.
Colin a dit qu'il n'avait jamais vraiment eu de mentor spécifique. Par contre, il y avait beaucoup de gens dans la communauté qui l'ont aidé à s'impliquer. Il y a beaucoup de gens qui seraient prêts à vraiment répondre à vos questions et vraiment vous inspirer à rester ou vous impliquer dans le sport.
Anyone else have anything you want to mention for that last question? I know if you haven't gone over it already.
Sure, I'll go. So here in Ontario, I'm an athlete mentor. We have a program called Gear to Play, which is, it stands for Girls Enabled and Ready to Play. And I've been with the program, I think, since 2015. And it's just kind of a fun environment for girls and women to come play wheelchair basketball.
Donc, Zoé a dit qu'elle était une mentor au niveau de l'Ontario. Ils ont un programme d'ambassadeurs ou d'ambassadrices pour les filles, pour que les jeunes filles s'impliquent au niveau des sports. Donc, elle recommande aux filles spécifiquement de s'impliquer de ce côté-là.
One of my mentors playing the sport when I first started in Victoria, she lived here at the time, Jessica Lingenhart. She's a class 1 that played with the women's national team for several years and through a few cycles of Paralympics and whatnot. And one of the things that she taught me early on was, as a class 1, just learning the sport. It is technical, but I think as a class 1, you need to see the gaps and learn kind of positioning really well. And she was one that I looked up to early on. Was really supportive and answered all my questions.
Aidan a dit qu'il y avait une athlète en chrono-botanique qui l'a vraiment aidé à s'impliquer dans le sport et vraiment l'inspirer aussi à se développer en tant qu'athlète. Ils étaient la même classe dans le sport du basketball en fauteuil roulant et ça l'a vraiment poussé à vouloir s'améliorer.
I guess I'm last. For me, I think mentorship is one of the most important things when you're learning a sport. And for me, Pat Griffin taught me how to enjoy training. I learned to love the process of training and, going out and shooting foul shots for an hour straight. That's all we did. We ran and we shot foul shots. And I love doing that sort of thing. And he taught me that. Dave Durpost was another mentor of mine. He taught me how to love just working my butt off every day and, being part of that thing that's bigger than myself and, taught me how to be composed under pressure. And then I've got my mentor coaches, Steve Bach and Steve Bialois and Paul Bose and those guys and Frogley and all those guys who, taught me how to be a better coach, also how to be a better player as well. So I think mentorship is something that we need to maybe make a bit more formal, when we're you're kind of have a new injury out there, and sometimes it's easy to forget them, but they need to be really embraced by people and supported through their journey.
Pour Ross, le mentorat est très, très important. C'est un aspect des sports qui est un peu négligé. Pour Ross, c'était il y avait deux athlètes au niveau canadien qui l'ont vraiment appris à s'entraîner vraiment et à aimer les types d'entraînement qui étaient nécessaires pour s'améliorer. Il y avait aussi un entraîneur qui était primordial au niveau des entraînements et comment vraiment entraîner des jeunes et un club. Donc, ces gens ont vraiment été primordiaux dans le développement de Ross.
Awesome. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to pass it over to Rachel, who will go over some questions from the chat and from the audience.
Great, thanks so much, guys. So we have a couple questions here, and we kind of touched on the first one, but first one here is the biggest challenge is attracting more participants. What do you find to be the most effective tool for promotion of the sport?
Donc, on a quelques questions dans le chat. Quelle est la meilleure façon de promouvoir le sport du basketball en fauteuil roulant?
Not for me personally, but from what I gather from teammates and other people in the sport, the big one for them is just the school program. So exposure to it from school. There are a lot of different avenues from like just live streaming games and stuff like that. But when it gets shown at school, that seems to be a big one for people from what I hear. So.
Colin dit que c'est très, très important de passer à travers les écoles et vraiment d'impliquer tout le monde dès un jeune âge. C'est une façon simple et directe d'impliquer des gens à travers du sport du basketball en fauteuil roulant.
I think for us, just we don't get a lot of people from our schools program. It's interesting. I think we get more athletes from our online presence, from Facebook and our internet, being able to find us easily online, because that's what people do is they look online, and word of mouth, just from family and friends and parents talking about the sport and meeting people, and they find a kid of a friend of their child has a disability and trying to get them out to the gym, and that's kind of accidental, but maybe we need to promote that a bit more too, just word of mouth and talking to as many people as we can.
Définitivement en ligne, la promotion en ligne est très importante, et aussi même les contacts un à un. Essayer de trouver soit des amis de la famille qui connaissent quelqu'un qui a peut-être un handicap, et les inviter à venir jouer. Donc ces deux façons de contacter les gens sont très, très importantes.
For me, being involved in wheelchair sports and being involved in with the Victoria wheelchair sports, majority of our athletes definitely come from our school programs, and then also through the younger programs, the Let's Play programs that are kind of coming up, and then can kind of join our club programs. So I'd say primarily though, the school programs are a pretty cool opportunity, and a pretty cool opportunity for students that maybe haven't been so involved in their PE classes and can get more involved.
Donc, Aidan dit qu'il y a deux façons pour lui qui croit qui sont des bonnes façons pour promouvoir le sport. La première, c'est vraiment dans les écoles, comme Colin avait dit. Et la deuxième, c'est à travers le programme Let's Play, qui est un programme pour les jeunes en Colombie-Britannique.
Zoe, do you want to touch on that?
I don't really have anything else to really add. I think everyone kind of said everything.
Sure. All right. And our second question is, how do you continue training during the pandemic?
Comment continuez-vous à vous entraîner pendant la pandémie?
So I'll go. Well, for me, I'm a student athlete at the University of Missouri, so our season was canceled and whatnot. So I came back north when things were crazy there a year ago. I was lucky enough to have a church just down the street from me that allowed me to get on court a couple times a week, and I had an aunt and uncle that gave me some gym equipment to put in the basement. So I was really fortunate for like March through the end of summer. Since then, I've been in Toronto, and we've just gotten a high performance exemption from the government. So we've been able to train some. It's less than ideal, not full numbers and stuff like that, but we're making the best of it.
Donc, Colin a dit que sa saison avec l'équipe de l'Université du Missouri a été cancellée dû à la pandémie, mais il a été très, très chanceux que par chez lui, il y avait un gymnase qui le permettait d'aller s'entraîner 2 à 3 fois par semaine. Et puis, il y avait aussi la famille qui a été très, très généreux avec lui pour essayer de lui trouver des poids haltères pour s'entraîner chez lui. Et puis après ça, il s'est dirigé à Toronto pour s'entraîner avec l'équipe canadienne.
So I'll go. So my club, we've been having virtual practices over Zoom, which has been kind of interesting, but a lot of fun. To kind of see everyone and do a bit of a workout as well.
Donc, Zoe a passé l'année avec des sessions Zoom avec son club. C'était quand même bien avec la technologie, les donnant l'accès aux entraînements et le support de la communauté avec ses coéquipiers et coéquipières.
For me, last summer the basketball guys got into tennis, and we found some courts we were allowed to play on, and that was really good. There's about 8 or 10 of us that played, and we bought some hockey nets, started to do some street hockey, bought some sticks and some balls, and did that outside, which was good. Winter was tough. It's hard to do anything over internet and Zoom, and we play a court sport, and so it's tough to really get engaged in it. Daryl's been doing a great job, I think, with his sessions. He's got a little pushing session once a week, and I guess now's a lot of people have a lot of time to watch game tape. I watch quite a bit of game tape. I try to find video on what Pat's doing in Turkey and what the national team's doing, other collegiate teams in the States. I try to watch a lot of basketball and learn what's happening. There's some leagues that are still playing now, and watch some older tape and keep your skills up that way.
Ross a mentionné que l'été passé, lui et quelques de ses coéquipiers ont joué au tennis en fauteuil roulant pour se tenir en forme. Cet hiver, c'était un peu plus difficile, mais il a aussi pris l'opportunité pour regarder beaucoup de vidéos de basketball en fauteuil roulant, que ce soit en Europe ou même aux États-Unis, pour continuer son développement en tant qu'entraîneur et en tant qu'athlète.
For me, I think I've been pretty fortunate. Was able to still work out in a gym, so been able to do kind of 3 to 4 workouts a week, and then also through our Victoria program and through BC, we're able to actually get a gym session going once a week on Sundays. It's definitely been a little bit different. We're kind of segregated to our nets, and kind of a lot of shooting on ourselves or on our own nets, no interaction obviously with each other, no passing back and forth with each other. So it's definitely, we've had to get a little creative, but we're able to still get a good push in every week on our Sunday practices. And I think fortunate to live in a beautiful place like Victoria, where the weather is pretty temperate, and on days that it's not raining, able to do some track work at a track just near me as well. So able to stay pretty fit, which is nice.
Aidan a passé l'année en s'entraînant à peu près 3-4 fois par semaine au gymnase dans sa communauté. Il y avait aussi des pratiques à travers de son club à peu près une fois par semaine où est-ce qu'il faisait des entraînements qui étaient individuels. Et aussi, il passait son temps aussi sur une piste pas loin de chez eux pour aussi pratiquer ses poussées dans sa chaise roulante.
Great. And one last question from the chat. So tell us a fun moment from your early days trying wheelchair basketball.
Disez-nous des bons moments à travers le sport du basketball en fauteuil roulant.
For me, it's probably my day one. I kind of was reluctantly said that I'll go to a practice and see what it's all about. But I wore jeans and wool socks and work boots on purpose because I was like, I'm not getting in a chair. But they wouldn't let me leave without getting in a chair. So my first practice, I'm in a chair with jeans and wool socks and I'm sweating and it's gross. But I came back the next time, so more prepared. So.
Colin a dit, lui, son meilleure expérience, c'était sa première journée qui s'est impliqué au basketball en fauteuil roulant. Il n'était pas vraiment très intéressé d'y aller au début. Il a même utilisé ou porté des jeans, des pantalons jeans par exprès puisqu'il s'attendait à ne pas aimer ça. Mais il a adoré ça. Il était revenu pour la deuxième pratique un peu plus près.
For me, I would say the second practice that I ever went to was we played an actual game against another team, and I had no idea what I was doing. But my coach was on the sidelines, kind of yelling at me, telling me where to go and what to do. So.
Zoe a dit que pour elle, c'était un des bons moments, c'était sa deuxième pratique, où est-ce qu'ils ont eu leur première partie en tant qu'équipe. Et puis, elle se sentait un peu perdue sur le terrain, mais son entraîneur lui donnait des petits trucs sur le côté pour bien se placer sur le terrain et comment bien jouer.
One story definitely sticks out for me. During my early days of injury, when I was still at GF Strong in rehab, both my brothers were able to come down and stay in Vancouver for a bit with me. And when BC came with some wheelchairs, they stored them at GF Strong overnight one night, and my brothers and I we snuck down to the gym after hours and broke in and stole the chairs out and just were played wheelchair basketball for the night. So definitely one story that stands out for me.
Une des histoires que Aidan se rappelle beaucoup, c'était la province de Colombie-Britannique avait des chaises roulantes qui étaient dans un entrepôt au gymnase. Et puis, lui et ses frères ont été au gymnase après les heures d'ouverture. Et ils ont pris les chaises de l'entrepôt, ils ont commencé à jouer dans le gymnase pour avoir du fun ensemble. Ça fait que c'était une des expériences que Aidan va tout le temps se rappeler.
Me, I guess that's too long ago for me to remember my early days of basketball. But the fun things I learned was from people who really were good at pranking. I learned so much from Gonzo. Man, she was so good at. Remember Marnie, how good she was at just pranking people, and I learned so much about just to irritate people enough and And from Bear was really good at pranking people too. And guys taught me how to use zip ties effectively. Man, you can really, when you tie two people in chairs together, and it's so much fun. Those are my fun moments, fun memories.
Donc, les mémoires que Ross se rappellera toujours, c'était les moments où ils ont fait des blagues avec ses coéquipiers dans ses premières années. Donc, c'est vraiment des histoires qu'il va tout le temps se rappeler.
Okay, I think that's it for questions. So, and we're just over an hour, so I think we'll just wrap up in doing that. Thank you so much, Aidan, Colin, Ross, Zoe. This was amazing. And I was reminded in the chat that it's been 22 years since BTG started. And this is kind of cool where we are now, you know, virtual worlds, but it was just so great to hear all your answers, and thank you so much. And to Simon, thank you for translating.
On vous remercie tous d'être venus aujourd'hui. On va aussi vous donner les prochaines dates aussi pour le prochain webinaire. Ça va être le tennis en fauteuil roulant.
Yeah, so I think Simon said it, but our next series will be wheelchair tennis, and dates will come out for that in the next couple days or week. And we encourage you to reach out to all of the coordinators across Canada. All of that information will be shared with you after this. With the recording, we'll post that as well as share it with you. And yeah, thank you again, everybody who logged in and registered, and to our speakers, one final thank you.
Merci encore à tous. Les prochaines dates pour le prochain webinaire seront disponibles bientôt. Et on vous remercie encore d'être venu aujourd'hui.
Maybe just one more thing that I forgot to mention was all of you mentioned Aidan, Ross, Colin, and Zoe. You mentioned people's names, and a lot of those people that you spoke to are watching, and they were watching. So thank you to those people who are on the call who helped contribute to the success of BTG now. So sorry, I just wanted to add that.
Merci à tous ceux et celles qui ont contribué au succès du programme BTG à travers les 22 ans que le programme a été disponible.
Thank you so much, everybody.